Good evening. A cloud of uncertainty and deep concern hangs around Toro Kingdom tonight as the health of His Majesty King Oyonyimba Kabamba Iguru Rukidi IV takes a worrying turn. The Toro Kingdom has confirmed that the 34-year-old monarch is in critical condition and is asking the people of Toro and well wishers across Uganda and beyond to pray for him. The announcement comes amid a storm of unconfirmed reports on social media claiming that the king has died while receiving medical care abroad. The kingdom, however, has urged the public to reject speculation and rely on official communication. Now, for a kingdom whose monarch is a symbol of continuity since ascending the throne as a 3-year-old in 1995, tonight's uncertainty leaves many people of Toro and Uganda at large anxiously waiting for subsequent communication from the royal family. Now, as the situation remains uncertain, we, as the team at NTV, stand in prayer with the people of Toro Kingdom. Now, that said, welcome to the broadcast, but first, your top stories.
NTV Tonight, brought to you by DFCU, going further together.
Your top stories this hour.
The president has come out very unequivocally to support, and this is a party position.
NUP President Robert Chagulanyi has thrown his weight behind Olara Otunu's bid for the United Nations Secretary General position, a significant endorsement for Uganda's image back home. Pinnacle.
So it's really very unfortunate that it seemed one way without any due reconciliation made.
The company managing operations and collecting money at the toll gates on the NTV Expressway has welcomed findings of the audit report. Also on NTV Tonight.
Offers a practical roadmap for integrating climate mobility into national and local development planning.
Preparedness, early warning, anticipatory action.
Uganda has launched a national plan of action to guide the implementation of the Kampala Ministerial Declaration on Migration, Environment and Climate Change. And
the attack on President Museveni would take place 2 weeks, approximately 2 weeks after the Kisumu training camp.
the prosecution in the treason case against opposition figure Dr. Kizza Besigye and his co-accused Obed Lutale has continued to present video and audio recordings to court as part of the evidence.
That I would send in 2 white people into Entebbe, would be watching State House, the president's movements, the levels of security.
DFCU, going further together.
Thank you for joining us. Our sign language interpreter on desk is Maureen Nambalirwa, and I am Joran Paul Sonko. And so it begins. NEP President Robert Chagulanyi has thrown his weight behind Olara Otunu's bid for the United Nations Secretary General position, a significant endorsement given Otunu's complicated history with the Ugandan government. We have more in this report.
In an expose today, no President Robert Chagulanyi publicly backed Dr. Olara Otunu in the race to become UN Secretary General, praising his international career and record on human rights, peace, and children affected by conflict. Chagulanyi also highlighted that in 1996, President Museveni declined to endorse Otunu for the same position, despite his international stature and experience, which NUP acting President John Baptist Nambeshe re-echoed.
Because there has been a lot of negative speculation again, accusations and attacks on our party, that we are not supporting the candidacy of the ambassador Olara Otunu. Far from the truth, the president has come out very unequivocally to support, and this is a party position, to support the candidature, but to also condemn the delay by this government to have fronted him earlier, because the man has a track record which speaks for itself. He's one of the most credible, but he has come rather too late.
The endorsement comes against the backdrop of a difficult relationship between Otunu and the Ugandan government. At one point, the government declined to renew his Ugandan passport, leaving him without citizenship for several years. In a recent interview, Otunu said he eventually became a citizen of Cote d'Ivoire in 2005. Fast forward to 2026, the same government that he says mistreated him is campaigning for him.
The next Secretary General.
Leader of opposition in Parliament, Joel Senyonyi, says NUP's decision to support Otunu is based on what they believe is best for Uganda rather than party affiliation.
He does not belong to our party, NUP, but he has for a long time anyway been an opposition leader, spoken out against the ills happening in our country, and he's always been desirous to see that our country gets better.
Senyonyi says the opposition also expects Otunu, if elected, to use the position to continue highlighting Uganda's political and human rights concerns on the international stage.
But now that he comes from Uganda, that the issues of concern in Uganda do not become history to his knowledge and to his workings, that he'll keep pushing to see that our country gets better. Charity begins at home. So when you're calling for orderliness, better democracy in all these other countries, you start it at home.
And even if Otunu does not secure the UN Secretary General position, Senyonyi says his international standing gives him an opportunity to continue advocating for Uganda and keeping the country's issues in the global spotlight.
In the unlikely event that he does not clinch this, first of all, we hope that he clinches this. But in the unlikely event that he doesn't, he still has that international profile that he's able to use to push for Uganda. Yeah, and that's why it is important for us.
The endorsement, therefore, creates an unusual political convergence with both the government and the opposition supporting the same Ugandan for one of the world's most influential diplomatic positions. For Otunu, the endorsement also brings his political journey full circle from a Ugandan opposition figure whose relationship with the government was once strained to a diplomat now receiving support from both sides of Uganda's political divide. Beata Muema, NTV Tonight.
We now invite you to share your thoughts with us on NUP President Robert Chagulanyi's endorsement of Olara Otunu's bid for the position of United Nations Secretary General. Share your thoughts on NUP President Robert Chagulanyi's endorsement of Olara Otunu's bid for the position of United Nations Secretary General. The poll is up and running on X and Facebook at NTV Uganda. Share with us your views and opinions. We shall be moving along with that particular report as it goes by. Now, moving on. Pinnacle, the company managing operations and collecting money at the toll gates on the NTV Expressway, says it is not satisfied with the findings of the Parliamentary Physical Infrastructure Committee report, arguing that the report was intended to malign the company. Now, they say the committee did not give them enough time to present their side of the story. However, Pinnacle welcomed some of the findings of the report, saying it supports the re-auditing of its accounts and other issues raised by the committee. We spoke to the general manager of Pinnacle, and this is what we gathered.
This is the action we took.
On Tuesday this week, the Physical Infrastructure Committee presented a report on the management of the NTV Expressway to Parliament. The report, among other recommendations, called for the termination of Pinnacle's operations. The company, currently collecting toll fees on behalf of the government, has been the subject of several other concerns raised by the committee.
Takes over the revenue collection of the toll fees and immediately puts in place electronic payment systems for purposes of easy transactional audit. All revenue collections should be deposited in the control account.
Today, Pinnacle, which started operations in May, said the MP's report was unfair to the company. They said some of the findings were intended to portray the company in a bad light and that the committee did not give them an opportunity to explain their side of the story.
Other collections, the collections at the point of sale, when people go and deposit money at Upesi card, how are they taking catering for the discounts? Okay, so it's really very unfortunate that it seemed one way without any due reconciliation made.
On the issue of technology of automated vehicle classification, which is used to determine the amount to be paid by a given vehicle, Pinnacle said the system is in place and fully functional.
ITMS is an independent traffic monitoring system that was contracted to us to implement. As I speak right now, it is there. From 2023, it has been working.
They also addressed the issue of the weigh-in motion bridge, saying a report on the system was produced and presented to the employer, the Ministry of Works and Transport, regarding its functionality on the road.
How to say that a WIM is an audit tool? For me, I think this was designed to malign us, the operator, because some of these things are just not true. They are just not true. When the project was handed over to the operator, none of the weight bridges were operational. In our mind, we said, okay, since we have determined that the WIM, the high-speed weighing motion, cannot work accurately, because one of the key issues they needed was accuracy.
They confirmed they have a contract to run the business.
Actually, do hold a contract. Whether I'll leave that for the procedures and the administrative functions to follow through.
Despite disputing the findings of the report, Pinnacle welcomed Uganda Revenue Authority's re-audit of its accounts.
I welcome so much the forensic audit, because that is the only way I believe we shall get justice in this. Okay? I welcome them bringing URA again. URA came, did a forensic report, pointed out its challenges, which we addressed in our response to the client.
It is to be recalled that Pinnacle has a contract worth 34 billion shillings after taking over from Aegis, which had been managing the toll gates under a 5-year contract worth 122 billion shillings.
The matters transport, though this time around we speak aviation. Uganda Airlines management has appealed for patience to turn around the national flag carrier to profitability. Members of Parliament had queried why the airliner continued to amass losses 7 years after it was revived. The Chief Executive Officer of the airliner, Girma Wake, argued that sustainability in the airline industry is built over time.
I know the airplanes were new. That I can assure you.
The interface with the management of Uganda Airlines had the MPs sitting on the Committee on Commissions, Statutory Authorities and State Enterprises question the rationale behind the airline's route expansion. The national flag carrier plans to cover over 19 routes, with the launch of Kigali and Accra scheduled for later this year.
Speak to the practicality of that without even going into the financial implications, but the practicality given the very limited fleets that you have now. Kindly speak to the practicality of having 18 operational routes.
Grounding of some of the aircraft for maintenance and the lack of spare parts have also complicated the situation. MPs questioned the route expansion, which they pointed out that it could be the reason the airline was making losses and it could take too long to break even.
We spent billions of money in acquiring these routes. The CEO convinced us, beyond a reasonable doubt, that don't mind about the losses that we are incurring today.
But when you look at the auditor report, General's report, it highlights that what attributed to the losses was because of expansion and called for expansions.
Auditor General's report for the financial 2024-25 showed that the national flag carrier owed up to 282 billion shillings in debt. The management of the airline apportioned blame for the accumulated debt on some of the burdensome contracts the airline had signed with suppliers. For instance, the committee was told that the airline had to pay up to 80% penalties annually on unpaid fuel supplies.
8% per month as a penalty is very punitive to the airline. So
The other, is there any way out of that punitive rate? So what we've done is, thank you, Chair. What we've done is that we have since moved out of that contractual relationship with that particular fuel supplier.
They singled out losses occasioned by foreign exchange, an increase in legal claims resulting from flight cancellations, baggage compensation and penalties paid to Rolls-Royce for the failure to optimally utilize the engines on the Airbus A330.
We contracted engine maintenance, engine part provision, everything to Rolls-Royce. Unfortunately, since we were not regular in our payments, Rolls-Royce cancelled that.
We're even being penalized for underutilizing the engine, so you incur additional costs. The nature of your contract is such that if it's a short flight cycle, then they will penalize you for it, because the engine manufacturer will want you to operate a longer route such that you're using the engine optimally.
Gama Wake emphasized that the scale-up of the routes was necessary for sustainability. Wake ruled out that the carrier would ever succeed if it relied strictly on flying traffic from within the country.
80% of the passengers who go through Addis don't enter Addis. That is the type of thing that we have to build here. Build traffic from everywhere to go through Entebbe, build Entebbe airport, and support the local traffic.
He stated that the connectivity was of great essence.
Yesterday evening, the flight that came from Harare came with 44 passengers going to Bombay. If that connection was not available, that airplane would have come with 44 passengers less.
He appealed for patience before the airline turns into profitability. In the company of the Uganda Airlines management was the former CEO, Jennifer Mamutarachi, who might find most of the audit queries in the Auditor General's report tossed to her.
Please assist us to appreciate that the condition at which these aircrafts were at the time of purchase.
Every time we come, that question comes up, and we, in that time, provided the proof that they were brand new.
Wake, a retired former Ethiopian Airlines chief executive, was headhunted to replace Bamutarachi following gross concerns of mismanagement that threatened to run down the young airliner. Jackson Onyango, NTV.
Well, you're still with us here on NTV tonight. We take our fast break this evening, but after the commercial messages, we return with more stories, and here is still to come. Still to come.
The value of a phone goes beyond just phone calls and sending money and receiving money.
Uganda's digital journey reveals a significant gap between registration and meaningful use. And in sports,
since we haven't made it, now we are number 2, so we could be facing number 3.
The Uganda Lady Volleyball Cranes fell to Egypt in their final group stage match at the ongoing African Volleyball Nations Championship.
Hello, Mr. Mukasa.
Hello, how are you?
I'm okay, sir. Are you the broker?
The original one.
I was told you have very good rentals.
That is right. How many bedrooms do you want?
I want 3 bedrooms.
Okay, did I tell you of the price?
Yes, of course. 500,000.
No. This side, the salary went a bit high.
Why?
Because the paint we use is of good quality. So the place gained the value.
Which paint?
Global paint.
How?
For the ceiling, for us we use Global Mat. And for the inside walls, we use Global Silk Vinyl.
Okay, tell me about the outside walls.
Outside we use Global Weather Coat Emulsion so that the walls don't peel.
I'm really impressed. The precision you put while painting, I'm willing to pay any amount.
That is true, because here for us quality is paramount and the place becomes humidity.
Global Paint, a reliable product.
Institutional transformation starts with people. This September, Uganda's largest gathering of professional returns. Welcome to the 31st ICPAU Annual Seminar, themed Transforming Institutions and Lives for Sustainable Growth. The 3-day event is designed to challenge how you think, lead, and grow. Discover how AI is reshaping institutions. Discover how to build sustainable investments and generational wealth. It's more than a seminar. It's an opportunity to learn, connect, and transform. Join us from the 2nd to the 4th of September at the Imperial Resort Beach Hotel, Entebbe, or join us online. For fees and registration, visit www.icpau.co.ug.
From the grandest stage, the badges change, but the passion remains.
It's a special goal! Cometh the hour, cometh the man!
This football is from the heavens. What a story this is!
10 months of drama lie ahead. The stage is set.
The biggest stars from the world's biggest leagues on SuperSport. It's on DSTV.
Prophet Elvis Mbonyi is a great man of God. By his anointing, Ethiopia will be touched.
All the way from Nairobi, Kenya. And this 1st September, we are coming to worship God with Prophet Elvis Mbonyi.
I'm by name Pastor Joyce Kade. We are from Sudan. I invite you to come on the 1st September.
Tuesday, 1st September, 2026, 5 p.m. at Zoe Ground along the Entebbe Express Highway. Entrance is free. For reservations, call or send us a WhatsApp or visit our website www.prophetelvis.com/on.
Welcome back. You're still with us here on NTV Tonight. Maureen Nambalibwa is still on sign language. Joram Paul Sonko here. A taxi can collect more than 100,000 shillings for its owner in a single day. But with a new vehicle costing tens of millions, how many days on the road does it take before the investment is paid back? Lydia Feliakulu has been finding out whether the taxi business still makes financial sense.
Yesterday, we looked at the cost of putting a new taxi on the road, with a new vehicle requiring an investment of between 60 and 85 million shillings. Today, we wanted to find out whether that investment can actually be recovered from the daily earnings of a taxi. Henry Nyanzi is a taxi driver operating in the Kampala-Entebbe road. The vehicle he drives is not his, but he gave us an insight into how much money it makes and how the daily earnings are shared between him and the owner. Nyanzi makes 3 return trips a day, or 3 rounds of the route, with fuel costs coming out of his earnings.
Zompo mugaga bulikanaku. Shaizo mugaga wabanga ajiguze naji nkwasa ngampya. Obana ajitukwasa ngampya ku lugudo wa Florente. Mu myaka 3 oba 2 kitundu asobola kubanga jiyo sente ze.
He declined to give us the exact amount he earns each day, but he pays the taxi owner between 100,000 and 120,000 shillings a day for 6 days a week. On Sundays, the owner allows him to keep the day's earnings.
Nkolo kuva ku Monday mpaka ku Mukaga. Sunday bayanga. Era Sunday baya drive. Kaliyo mu kuva ku Monday mpaka Mukaga. Nze driver gwa bajikwasiza. Solo kufuna onako emitwalo 4, emitwalo 5, emitwalo nga 7 kisinzira. Nkuba kije nkikubyemu. Chance kye biri mu chance. Biri mu ne Katonda. Naye nga twali tufuna sente naye Fly Express yatuyingirira
Under this arrangement, Henry believes the money used to buy the vehicle could be recovered within about 2.5 to 3 years. There are 52 Sundays in a year. When these are deducted from the 365 days in a year, that leaves 313 working days. At an average daily remittance of about 110,000 shillings, the vehicle would generate about 34 million shillings a year for its owner. In 3 years, that would amount to roughly 102 million shillings, meaning the original investment could theoretically be recovered. But taxi owners say the reality is not always that straightforward because much of the money earned goes back into maintaining vehicles. They say older taxi models have become increasingly unreliable, requiring frequent repairs that eat into their daily earnings.
Okugibeezaawo ng'okugibeezaawo kizibu nnyo. Ebyuma batwetya bifu. Kisookera ddala. Naddala obukono bw'omu maaso awo, osibamu akakono ogenda okulaba keetooloola. Ekyamazima, ebyuma bifu nnyo bye batuleetera. Ate batugamba emmotoka zaagala kugenda kupima awo mu maaso tewatereera olw'ebyuma ebifu. Tunoonyeza ssente mu ngeri yonna ssente ezikola ki?
Another challenge is the rising cost of fuel, while taxi fares have remained largely unchanged. This, they say, is compounded by competition from other forms of transport, which continue to take away passengers and reduce their earnings. Haj Rahman Mubiru has spent 30 years in the taxi business. He started out as a driver before moving into vehicle ownership and now spends much of his time managing the drivers who operate his taxis.
Gone. Kati emyaka ng'ebiri. Kati ziweddeyo. Ziweddeyo tebammanyi.
Unlike some owners, Mubiro says he has already recovered the money he invested in his latest vehicle and is now making a profit. He says the daily remittances from the drivers have enabled him to keep the business running and continue investing in more vehicles. After 3 decades in the business, Haj Rahman Mubiru says he is encouraged by the growing shift towards newer, more reliable taxis. Lydia Feli Akulu, NTV Tonight.
Now, the 4th day of witness testimony and evidence presentation in the ongoing treason trial involving Dr. Kizza Besigye and his co-accused, so-called presented with a 2-hour and 1-minute video recording of what the prosecution described as a third meeting held in Geneva, Switzerland. The recording allegedly captured discussions between Besigye, his aide Joe Wakaima, and state witness Andrew Wilson, also known as Orlando, concerning plans that Wilson says were linked to an alleged plot to assassinate President Yoweri Museveni. David Ijo was in court today and now reports.
According to video footage, which is said to be the second meeting between Besigye, his aide Joe Wakaima, and Andrew Wilson, the meeting included discussions about the cost of establishing a training camp in Kisumu, Kenya. Wilson told court that he had given Besigye $5,000 to secure the training facility and help facilitate the transportation of individuals who were allegedly intended to undergo training there.
I just gave Dr. Besigye $5,000.
For what purpose?
To book the training area, training location in Kisumu, and to assist with the transportation of the students from Uganda to Kisumu.
The video also reportedly contains discussions about taking drone ammunitions to Kisumu for training purposes before the alleged operatives would later travel to Uganda to carry out planned attacks.
We were on about bringing drones into Kisumu for training, and also those drones would be moving into Uganda with myself and select personnel to start the attacks.
Wilson further told court that the alleged plans involved monitoring President Museveni's movements between the state lodge in Nakasero and State House in Entebbe. He claimed that 2 white individuals would pose as tourists while observing the president's movements and security arrangements.
He's just using his hands to explain that there's one road in and one road out from Kampala to Entebbe. One road that President Museveni travels from Kampala to the State House in Entebbe, and one road he uses to go back again. my lord. Because at that time, we're discussing the plans to assassinate President Museveni.
Another location repeatedly mentioned during the discussions was Mahagi in the Democratic Republic of Congo. It's alleged that Besigye said Mahagi had 2 airfields, including an unofficial one reportedly controlled locally by the Lendu chiefdom. Besigye referred the unofficial facility, allegedly saying he had previously used it in connection with a similar operation.
Firstly, in Mahagi, there are 2 airstrips. There is the official airstrip and an unofficial airstrip, which is under control of the local chief. And they can be both viewed on Google Earth. They're visible. Dr. Besigye also just said they had used, and I take it he means the unofficial airstrip, to bring in guns before.
The Kisumu plan, as presented through the testimony and video footage, allegedly involved 1 week of training, followed by approximately 2 weeks for the planned operation against the president. Wilson told court that he was expected to return to Uganda with a selected group of trained assassins, while Besigye and senior members of his proposed government would travel to Dubai to meet senior figures whom Wilson claimed were members of a clandestine group he was associated with.
I think what we discussed there, what you heard, was the training camp in Kisumu would take 1 week, and the incident, the attack on President Museveni, would take place 2 weeks, approximately 2 weeks.
The Geneva meeting also reportedly involved discussions about obtaining a Zambian passport for Wakaima. Wilson said Wakaima was holding a Netherlands refugee document that restricted his international movement and that a Zambian passport was therefore considered useful for the alleged plans.
Joe Wakahima had a Netherlands refugee identity card that would allow him to travel, but he was apprehensive. So Dr. Besigye was discussing getting Wakahima a Zambian passport.
Wilson further testified that Wakaima was later arrested in Geneva over immigration-related issues concerning his travel documents. The video and Wilson's testimony form part of the evidence being relied upon by the prosecution in the ongoing case. The allegations contained in the testimony remain subject to challenge and determination by the court as the proceedings continue. David Ijo, NTV.
Well, now let's focus on health matters, because the government, through the health ministry, is placing emphasis on training neonatal pediatricians to be spread across the country following the rise of newly borns, which now stands at 35 per 1,000 live births on a daily. This comes at a time when 2 million babies are born annually.
Uganda, according to the United Nations estimates for 2021, has 1.7 million births every year, and the latest Uganda Demographic and Health Survey report for 2022 puts the neonatal mortality at 22 births per 1,000 live births, a decline from 27 births per 1,000 live births reported in 2016. According to reports from the Health Ministry, approximately 1.4 million to 2 million babies are born annually in Uganda, which means that about 4,000 babies are born every day.
And as you know, Uganda is a very fertile country. We produce roughly close to 2 million babies a year. And so this committed team of doctors is the one that takes care of our babies as they grow old, from being a neonate to being a toddler and being a child.
Dr. Richard Mugahi, the Commissioner, Reproductive and Child Health at the Health Ministry, notes that the training of neonatologists will reduce the number of mortality rates in the babies.
We've only had 5, and they were not trained in Uganda. The ones who deal with the very small newborn called neonates. So we've only had 5 neonatologists, and 50 million people served by only 5. We have started training, Makerere University is training our own neonatologists, and our first group of neonatologists graduated June this year. We want to have a neonatologist in every region. Every regional referral should have. That's our national target. So we have a target of training 40 neonatologists. We're now at 10. We have 30 more to go. And we think 6 more are in training. So we are like halfway.
Additionally, the ministry notes that the mortality rate is high because of the lack of neonatal nurses, who now, if trained and with improved quality care, will reduce on their deaths.
Neonatal nurses, we are soon beginning to train. We also don't have them. And the infrastructure to look after the newborns. I think some of you have seen some of the newborn care units in our different facilities, in Mulago, Women's, in Kawempe. So we want to have such at every level in the districts, health center force, general hospitals, and regional referrals.
But having trained the specialists, these specialists are able to train the lower level healthcare workers to build capacity, and the result is worth the investment because we end up improving child health and reducing newborn mortality.
Normally, the focus has been on those children who are below 5 years, but there are those ones who are born that very hour to 28 days, and that is where most of the risks again are. And as a government, our emphasis is saying no baby is supposed to die. Every baby that is born has come out of the mom must survive.
Despite the endeavors to reduce on the deaths, to protect the newly born babies, enough infrastructure in terms of CPAPs is needed for preterm babies. Now the health ministry wants this medicine and other necessities be given for free to all mothers.
Babies are still dying because of complications of breathing. The reason we are setting up those neonatal care units is to support these babies who are born with challenges of breathing to be able to be helped with breathing gadgets. If a baby is born preterm and we need to help them breathe better, they use a drug called surfactant because they don't have enough surfactant in their lungs. That medicine is very expensive for an ordinary. It costs around $200. That's $750,000 per dose. So we are going to advocate that government makes such medicines for preterm babies free so that it can be available even in the general hospitals.
Anne Akulo, the president of Uganda Pediatric Association, notes that the training program remains expensive, calling for more support from the government so that more newborn specialists are spread across the country.
Previously, the newborn specialists were being trained out of the country, like in South Africa. The first 2-3 newborn specialists were actually trained in South Africa, which was quite costly.
The health ministry notes that the ratio of pediatricians to the newborns remains high, making it hard for some of the babies to be able to receive care so as to avoid preventable diseases. This was during the 22nd Annual Pediatric Conference held in Kampala under the theme, Bridging the Gap to Equitable Child Health Care. Maria Jacinta Kanyange, NTV.
Away from that, Uganda has launched a national plan of action to guide the implementation of the Kampala Ministerial Declaration on Migration, Environment and Climate Change. The plan seeks to address the growing impact of droughts, floods, landslides and other climate-related disasters on human mobility while strengthening resilience and helping communities adapt. The launch in Kampala brought together government, development partners and other stakeholders with calls for increased investment in prevention, early warning systems and climate-resilient development. Benjamin Jumbe reports.
For communities living in areas prone to floods, landslides and drought, climate change is increasingly influencing where and how people live. But government and development partners say movement should not only be seen as a consequence of climate vulnerability. The International Organization for Migration says when properly planned, migration can also become a way for communities to adapt, diversify livelihoods and reduce exposure to climate risks.
So this launch marks Uganda's shift marks from planning and consultation to implementation and impact. The National Plan of Action offers a practical roadmap for integrating climate mobility into national and local development planning and strengthening resilience across the country.
The National Plan of Action for implementing the Kampala Ministerial Declaration on Migration, Environment and Climate Change has identified several champion initiatives aimed at helping vulnerable communities adapt while creating dignified opportunities, including mobility, as a possible adaptation strategy.
Based on the Declaration's 12 commitment, the plan prioritises climate resilience, early warning and data systems, sustainable landmark, climate smart livelihoods, climate finance, urban planning, human rights, gender responsive action, local knowledge, innovation, partnership, and regional cooperation.
We have some numbers here, some of it derived as well from the World Bank report. 21 million displacements due to climate disasters per year. This was in 2024. We are looking at upward of 200 million people expected to move due to slow onset effects of climate change by 2050. 90% of those will be in Africa, Asia, and the Pacific.
Acting Commissioner for Climate Change in the Ministry of Water and Environment, Bob Natifu, says one of the major gaps has been reliable data to show where climate-related displacement risks are greatest, a gap now being addressed through the Risk Index for Climate Displacement.
That's why the Risk Index that you've just heard about today is central. It's central because it identifies the different hotspots, it identifies who is moving, where they are moving, and how we're supposed to cater for them. So we very much look forward to the implementation and or operationalization of this climate risk index, which is going to help us address the policy gap, but also the financing need that we have to address climate action, both on the adaptation and mitigation side.
Launching the National Plan of Action, Minister for Relief, Disaster Preparedness and Refugees, Sam Engola, says Uganda must shift from the fragmented responses to anticipatory action.
The best disaster preparedness is one that reduces risk before disaster strike. We must therefore invest in prevention, preparedness, early warning, anticipatory action, resilience, livelihood, and not risk-informed development.
Government is also calling on ministries, departments and agencies to integrate their responsibilities under the plan into their development and sectoral planning.
The success of NPOA will depend on the clear responsibilities, adequate financing, strong partnership, and effective coordination at national, district, and community levels.
From a Danish government perspective, this really demonstrates the strong leadership that we see from Uganda's side, the leadership that we bring not only to addressing migration, but very strongly also to addressing climate change.
Stakeholders say the best response to climate-induced displacement is preparedness and investment in resilience. I'm Benjamin Jumbe, NTV Tonight.
I guess the emphasis is on the Minister of Water since they take charge of this.
Well, earlier on, we did ask you to share your thoughts on NUP President Robert Kyagulanyi endorsing Olaro Tunu's bid for the Secretary General position at the United Nations. Now, Good News Outreach Ministries International says that is encouraging. Cohen Othman Kelvin says his vision is far beyond what we can imagine. Don Cruz says it is a bold and strategic move. Olaro Tunu has the international experience and credibility, and an endorsement from Bobby Wine gives the bid a strong Pan-African youth voice. If Africa is to front a candidate for UN Secretary General, we need unity behind a qualified person. Then finally, it's called maturity and an analytical leadership judgment. We return shortly with Malcolm Musime from the world of business.
Today is a good day to draw up a new play. So start something. Make your move and get in your groove. Do it for the gram. Do it for the culture. Be loud. Be extra. Be a thinker. A life eater. A Tusker light drinker. Start something. Turn on your lights. Tusker Lights.
you need a bigger space to grow your business. You need more equipment to meet demand.
You need to make sure everyone gets paid on time.
In business, you need advice, solutions, and sector expertise when it matters.
Your new office space looks great. What's next?
We get it. Absa Business Banking.
Can I have a light, please? What is this?
Castor Light, the best testing light.
Try it.
Try it, try it, try it. Da, 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 da.
Guys, look at this post.
Nothing hits like extra cold. Castle Light. Try it.
Thank you for joining us. This is Business. My name is Malcolm Sime. Uganda's digital transition journey reveals a significant gap between registration and meaningful use, and more than 3.4 million people registered for services under the Leaving No One Behind in the Digital Era program. But only about 1 million are active users, and this means 7 in every 10 accounts remain inactive, according to the United Nations Capital Development Fund report. NTV's Rachel Nabisubi now reports.
Digital finance is fast becoming the backbone of Uganda's economic growth, powering micro, small and medium enterprises at the grassroots. Millions have registered for digital services, but technology alone has not closed the gap.
Cost is one of the biggest factor or impediment into all into access. So if you look at infrastructure, the cost of a mobile phone someone has to buy, because that's the underlying infrastructure. And because it's expensive, it's a smartphone, one thing that we do is to provide it on credit. And the value of a phone goes beyond just phone calls and sending money and receiving money. So when you look at it as a tool of trade to enable you to operate, then you will look at it as an asset. However, if you look at the cost of internet services, or even the availability before you even go into that, that one is not controlled by us. And I think this is where the governments need to partner with the telecommunication companies or the mobile network operators to make sure that they identify locations which are disadvantaged and push subsidies to those locations. So
digital transformation carries both promise and pressure. Limited access and weak infrastructure, slow adoption. Yet once barriers fall, digital tools can extend beyond finance, driving livelihood and empowering communities. United Nations Capital Development Fund's Olawale Ajay says digital inclusion is not just about connectivity, but economic inclusion.
The world focuses on 4 interconnected areas, digital infrastructure and last mile connectivity, innovation and new digital business models, digital and financial skills, and lastly, the policy, regulatory, and consumer protection ecosystem.
Launched in 2019 with Sweden's support, the initiative has recruited 21,000 community agents, engaged 500,000 women, and digitized more than 11,000 saving groups. Yet only 10% access credit, showing that scaling digital loans could strengthen financial health at the last mile and empower Uganda's new digital economy. Rachel Nabisubi for NTV Business.
Thank you, Rachel. Now, more than half of Uganda's economy remains informal. A state of affairs highlighting the difficulty that businesses face in making the transition from small-scale operations to sustainable growth.
Government data shows that informal sector accounted for more than 54% of the economy in the 2024-25 financial year. And at a BNI event, entrepreneurs discussed what it will take to build more informal, scalable businesses.
The Uganda Investment Authority says formalization is a critical first step. While domestic investors must demonstrate at least $50,000 in investment to qualify under its investor framework, small businesses can still access training, compliance support, market linkages, and government services through a one-stop center. The authority says this support is intended to help SMEs to grow into stronger businesses capable of attracting finance, supplying bigger enterprises, and accessing investment opportunities.
For someone to qualify as a domestic investor in Uganda, you need to have invested 50,000 US dollars. That can be in terms of land, probably you bought land, that can be in terms of machinery, that can be in terms of research and so on. But you have to show proof. Once you do that, those ones come with investment incentives. For example, when you are importing machinery for value addition, right? Certain taxes can be exempted since you're already into value addition, you're a domestic investor.
Every business has the potential to go to the next generation. And when it does, it creates jobs, it creates wealth within the family. Now, what do we need? First of all, the business owners have to appreciate that that's a goal, that the business I am building is not just for today, but it should be there 20 years from now. 30 years from now. For the business owners to be able to do that, they need to understand they have a job to build systems within the business. They have a job to make sure that they access and use capital well. That when they get a loan, they make sure it is repaid, and they are finding cheaper and cheaper capital.
We business owners don't have all the business knowledge. What we know is to operate our businesses, but we need to get another feel from government, and I think there should be more intentional on what they have for us in package.
But entrepreneurs say support must go beyond formalization. They want practical business literacy, from understanding taxes and accessing capital, to knowing how to scale a small enterprise into a lasting investment. Betty Ndagire, NTV Business.
NTV Business's Rashura Adid reports that fuel price shocks have cut road sector performance in Koboko district and municipality by 15% in the last financial year.
Koboko district and municipality are reviewing roadworks performances as they begin a new financial year, with engineers warning that rising fuel costs and funding gaps are slowing delivery.
The challenge was that by the time we are implementing these works, the fuel prices have gone up. We planned the roads at the fuel rate of 5,200 per litre, but when we implemented this, fuel was 6,800. So it created a difference of 16 million to 72, which now we have to draw from fuel export revenue.
At the first quarter district roads committee meeting, Koboko Municipal Engineer Mr. Nguma Edward said road sector performance fell by 15% in the last financial year, while Wani Nelson, the district engineer, says output fell by 8%, largely because fuel prices outpaced budget provisions.
When we were planning for activities in the last financial year, by that time fuel was 5,000 shillings per litre. But by the time we started implementing this project, fuel had risen to up to 7,000. So that means we were losing 2,000. We were paying 2,000 more on every litre of fuel, and has affected the output.
And now the biggest challenge is that the district has a few road equipments that are shared now between the municipality and the district. And actually releases from central government come at the same time. Now, because they come at the same time, you find in a number of situations, the district takes precedence over the maintenance of its roads before the municipality. And this has costed us, I think last financial year we lost about 120 million shillings going back to the consolidated fund.
Engineers say unless roads budgets reflect prevailing fuel prices and central government programs are better aligned with local priorities, delivery will remain under pressure.
And if you look at these units, they have reached the economic point of replacement, where they need to be replaced. And their maintenance has become very expensive. And unfortunately, the arrangement is that when this equipment breaks down, we have to take them to Gulu to be serviced. And this takes really a very long time.
Leaders are now calling for a review of fuel provisions in roads budgets and greater discretion for districts to determine which roads, culverts and bridges to be taken as priorities in the different financial years. Rashid Adit, NTV.
There and their exit there. This is it.
So where is the building?
Fast, stress-free construction. Get your factory-made buildings in 12 weeks with SafBuild. Order yours now. SafBuild, a quality building solution from Uganda Bati.
Mami!
I want everything, eh? Yes. So, when I pay the time, this will increase my loan limits. Madam, remove the food, put more meat, add the meat, yes. Hey. Now, these are the fruits of paying your loans in time.
That's right. Every time you repay your Momo loan on time, your loan limit can increase, giving you access to more money when you need it most. Dial *165*5# to borrow, pay back, and grow your limit with Momo loans.
You have juice? Yes. Do you see me?
Take a look around, and you'll see everything can be reimagined. Everything rough can be smooth. Everything old can be fresh. Everything can be made vibrant and full of attitude. The world is what you make it, so why not make it yours? Guinness Smooth. Make it yours.
Well, now the Uganda lady volleyball cranes fell to Egypt in their final group stage match at the ongoing African Volleyball Nations Championship. Uganda lost 3-0 to the vastly experienced Egyptians. First defeat of the tournament, having already secured a place in the round of 16 with victories over Senegal and Burkina Faso.
Uganda suffered their first loss of the African Volleyball Nations Championship, dropping 3 straight sets to Egypt. Libero Shamira Kalanzi notes that despite high team morale, they had anticipated a tough battle. The result leaves the Lady Cranes needing a victory in the round of 16 to advance to the quarterfinals.
Our goal at the start was to top the group, but since we haven't made it, now we are number 2, so we could be facing number 3. That is a game we are going for very hard because we want to make it to the quarterfinal.
Kalanzi added that the match served as an invaluable learning experience for the team.
It's not a loss that we are going to feel so badly about, but rather we are actually glad because we have played a very experienced team, and we are going to maybe in our trainings try to play faster and add in a few plays because we were playing one-sided, just outside our middles were a bit few.
Head coach Protas Soita praised the squad's discipline, stating that they followed instructions to the letter and simply lost to a stronger side.
Positives we can take from this game is the fighting spirit of the players. Once in a while, you could see them really fight and try to do what actually we have trained. I should say that we reached a point, the starting was okay, the vibe was there, but when they could see them move and we failed to score, they started going down and down.
Well, now, away from that, we talk matters golf, because Zambia's Dominic Musonda played 8 strokes under par 72 on day 3 to lead the 2026 Uganda Amateurs Golf Open Championship.
Musonda, who finished second in last season's Uganda Amateur Open, put himself in pole position for a maiden championship title after taking a commanding lead in round 3. Musonda played 8 under par 72 today to take his tally to 12 under, a feat that saw him lead the tournament for the first time. His Zambian counterpart Gilbert Chalwe, who entered the day in the lead, is now in second place after shooting 1 under par in round 3. Ugandan Joseph Kasozi had his worst game today, playing 3 over par to reduce his total score to 1 under.
My day today it went well because I played level, played 1 over front 9 and 1 under back 9. It went well because yesterday I struggled too much. Today in the morning I started with range. I was pulling too much my balls, too much left yesterday. So today I started with range. So I decided I tried to correct what went wrong yesterday.
Yeah, tomorrow I just want to, keep the game consistent, steady, not make stupid mistakes like today. And just go out and enjoy, because usually golf is funny, when you're relaxed and you're aggressive.
It will all be to play for tomorrow in the 4th and final round of the tournament. Ugandan Joseph Chinwai won last year's edition of the tournament. Noah Walakira, NTV.
8 non-governmental organizations linked with supporting vulnerable children will share the 700 million shillings proceeds from this year's ABSA 7 Hills Run that was announced today.
8,000 people gathered, responded to our call to take on the 7 Hills of Kampala, and today is about what happens after the run, how the collective effort of our running and our fundraising translates into practical support for thousands of girls across Uganda. Uganda has made important progress in expanding access to education, both to boys and girls, but for girls, they have not experienced it the same way or equally. In 2024, a study by the Ministry of Education and Sports found that secondary school enrollment among children from the wealthiest households stood at 43%. However, from the poorest, it was about 8%.
This is not about sanitary pads only. It is about keeping a girl in school. It is about protecting their dignity. It is about supporting the education, and also it is to make them realize their potential. And so, on behalf of the Red Cross, we thank ABSA for the partnership that has been going on, but also this new partnership will ensure that the results are visible out of this funding.
Uganda will dispatch a team of 14 players with 2 reserves for the 2026 ICC Under-19 Women World Cup Africa qualifier due to take place between 28th August and 6th September in Tanzania.
I'm excited to be on this team because we have come far from, right away from Schools Week, and God has helped me to come until this level. So I thank him for that chance he has given me. I'm so excited.
As the under-19 girls, we're working on specifically our batting, because the bowling, we are very, very good, and our bowling is very, very attacking. And the batting specifically, we're working on our mid-order and the top order specifically, because we are not that good, but we are going to be better in any time.
More importantly, we've been working on the team dynamics, just trying to get our tactics right and getting them to understand their different roles, whether they're bowlers, batters, and know how they can contribute towards the success of the team.
As we sign out, our prayers and thoughts are with the people of Toro Kingdom in this uncertain time. But of course, we assure you that we'll be giving you updates on that particular report. Continue following our socials at NTV Uganda on all social media platforms, but then also the Nation Media various platforms as well for more of the news that matter. I'm Jerome Paul Sonko, and I've been tagging along with Maureen Nambalira since Monday. She'll return tomorrow with Mildred Padun for NTV Weekend Edition, as they will be taking you till Sunday from 9 p.m. Now, coming up on NTV is NTV On The Spot with Patrick Kamara. Be part of the conversations therein and also engage on social media. For now, it's a good evening and a good night.